And I'm Kirsty.
And this is our podcast covering the highs, lows and realities of parenting a child with neurodiversity.
Each week we'll be sharing updates from our lives and hearing from a variety of guests about their advice and experiences.
This is Love Needs No Words.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Love Needs No Words. So going away as a family fills a lot of us with anxiety and dread. What will our children be like on the plane? How will they cope with the different environment? Well, that's where the lovely Hayley Fields comes in. Through her Instagram page @the_field trips, she is helping families with children with additional needs travel and create memories. Hayley, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Thanks so much for coming on. I'm flying solo this week.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, let's go. I'm loving it.
So first of all, it's important to talk about that anxiety and dread that many families, especially with SEND children, have about going on holiday. Do you hear that a lot? And what is your advice around that uncertainty that many people feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I hear this all the time. I feel it as well as a parent, right? I think neurotypical, neurodiverse, there is always a scary bit, especially about planes. People historically get angry on planes at noise and things like that. So I think there's definitely fear. But I think, yeah, the idea of going on holiday, especially with neurodiverse children, can feel sometimes more stressful than exciting. And I think a lot of that is obviously around the uncertainty. There can be sensory overload, fear of meltdowns, just change in general, not knowing the environment, not knowing what food options there are, not knowing how they're going to react. There's so much more, I think, as a mum of a child, a neurodiverse child to think about and consider. And yeah, sometimes I think that comes with a lot of anxiety as well. So I've come across so many families who simply avoid holidays as a result, because it just all feels all too overwhelming. But I suppose my advice really with that is to start small, like focus on preparation over perfection. So, we are still going to be parenting a neurodiverse child or a neurotypical child. It's not going to be a holiday for us parents necessarily like the ones we used to know. There's not going to be sitting on a sun lounger in silence, reading a book, having a cocktail. Take that idea out of your head, because that's not what's going to happen, not for a few years at least. But yeah, preparation over perfection. So putting things in place to support your child through that. So things like visual routines, stories can help your child to feel more in control and secure. So whenever we go away, I make sure I've got my son Jesse, he's 5, he's got autism, so we make sure we do stuff like that just to really support him. And then I suppose as a parent, just like knowing what support is available, that can change everything. So I've actually about to finish a travel and autism guide, and the idea behind that is for exactly that. So to help parents, help families, help maybe siblings, help maybe even if you're going away with friends that have a neurodiverse child. It's just a guide to sort of help you feel more calm, more empowered in a way, by having like practical tips and real tools and hints and stuff like that, just to help you prepare for it, because that is the key to. You're not going to get your sun lounger and cocktails, but you will have incredible memories and access to, going to beautiful places.
That sounds amazing. Definitely going to get my hands on that, because I definitely fit into that category of feeling really anxious about, especially flying. Kirsty's flying for the first time this year. You talked a bit there about resources available. There's airlines, aren't there, that are really geared up to helping with children with additional needs. Is there also any top tips for what to take on the plane as well?
So most UK major airports, so maybe not your smaller ones, but your major ones especially, will have some form of accessibility scheme. So lots of them operate with the Sunflower Lanyard, and you can get special assistance with that. So basically you can either explain at check-in. Most airlines you want to tell before you travel. and contact them and explain, you know, in terms of special assistance. When you travel on special assistance, you are actually able to allocate your seats free of charge. So most airlines will now charge for seat allocation. You are able to book your seats free of charge, and get obviously the seat preparation like wherever you want. So it doesn't mean you can bump yourself up to first class, but it does mean in the cabin that you're supposed to be in, you can choose, you know, what seat would be better, and obviously you can make sure that you're sitting together as a family as well. So for example, when we travel with Jesse, he doesn't like lots of people passing him. That can really sort of dysregulate him. So what we tend to do is sit at the back of the plane, and we always check the configuration of the plane as well. So like if we know there's a toilet at the back and a toilet at the front, then we might try and sit sort of in the middle somewhere, so there's not people crowding around him. For example, if there's not a toilet at the back, which is ideal, then we'll sit at the back. You also get an option as well with regards to preferred boarding. So you can either board absolutely first, get in, get settled, get relaxed, or you can board last. We actually board last because the least amount of time on that plane is better for Jesse's anxiety. So I appreciate getting on first, and we thought that would be the way. We thought, you know, get on first, get settled, like get all your stuff set up around you, let everyone else do the hustle and bustle, like we'll get ourselves sorted. Then we found that actually with Jesse, not going straight away, that sitting and waiting for everyone else, the unknown, like watching what's going on, all the sounds of them loading like cargo and things was just, it was too overwhelming for him. So actually almost the process of not being able to catch your breath, right, we're getting in, we're putting our seatbelts on and we're taxiing to the runway, that's better for him. So there is always a bit of trial and error, but yeah, you can choose boarding, you can choose seats, and you get that normally free of charge. With special assistance through airports as well, especially, you can also do security, like private security. So they do have rooms dedicated to people who need them, like quiet spaces. So it would be just you as a family going in and going through security at any one time. You do sometimes have to wait for that. That's the only thing, because they wouldn't just have someone in a room waiting, but they have that option and that facility. And they also have separate rooms the other side of security. So if you didn't want to wait in a terminal, and again, this is for the major UK airports, not necessarily for your smaller ones. But yeah, if you didn't want to wait in a very busy terminal, then there is a quiet, I mean, there's nothing in there. It's not like you can access shops or restaurants or anything like that. But it is a quiet space. A lot of the airports as well have sensory rooms now. So London Gatwick does, London Heathrow does. Not all terminals, so you do have to check. But they do have sensory rooms as well, which is obviously amazing for just helping, just to regulate ahead of a flight. So yeah, there's lots of support out there especially for airports specifically, just to sort of help. You can also, sorry, I'm gonna get carried away now.
No, this is great.
You can also, most airlines, and you do have to check with your airline, but most airlines will allow you to take extra checked bags. So for example, when I'm flying with Jesse, I can call my airline and say, you know, explain sort of his diagnosis and his needs, and they will give you another bag free of charge. So that allows me to pack like some of his safe foods, like medication, things like that you would otherwise maybe stress about how you're going to fit it all in with your clothes and everything else. But yeah, if there's things like safe foods, or even like teddies or toys, or you know, whatever it is to them that keeps them and makes them feel safe, then you're able to take that extra luggage. But you just have to call and check.
That's great. I had no idea about any of those things.
Yeah,
it already feels like the pressure's taken off a little bit. And also the boarding last, that was a big fear of mine, is that Alex would sit there and start to get really stressed out, where actually if we can board last, that just takes that pressure off completely.
Yeah, so all we do when we travel, we do call ahead and explain all of this, but then I also find that sometimes that isn't always filtered
yes
to the staff on the day. So all I do is when they call for priority boarding, I just go up and I explain, we're actually going to board last, is that okay? And like, that's fine. What I would say, that only tends to work though if you're doing long haul, because you have the allocated space in terms of like overhead lockers and things like that. Obviously, if you're flying short haul, it tends to be a bit of a fight, doesn't it, for overhead space? And the last thing you want is to get on last and there be no space for your bags, and then you might have to check them and stuff like that. So I would say maybe take that advice if you're going long haul, but if you're going short haul, it might benefit you to get on first. And I have seen, and I think this does vary per airline, so you'd have to check this, but I have seen, if you are traveling, for example, we're a family of 4, so mum, dad, 2 kids, like James would go ahead sometimes and ask, we'd go up together as a family, and he'd say, can I go on and put everything away and get their seats ready, and they get on last? As long as they see that you are as a family, they tend to say yes. So I would then stay back with Jesse and allow him to still have his space and things like that. James would go on, put all the bags up, get their seats ready, get the, maybe their snacks laid out or their toys, like fidget toys and stuff, laid out. And then we'd get on. So sometimes that works, but it's so airline dependent that you have to always check every single time. But yeah, fidget toys and things like that are a game changer. I do plane presents, so this is,
go on.
I appreciate if you're already taking your child on holiday, then do they, some people look at me and go, they're already going on holiday, why do they need presents? But hear me out.
It helps.
Yeah. Jessie is so driven and motivated by surprise and presents and things like that. Like unwrapping anything is just thrilling to him. So what I tend to do is, for a long haul, I do a present an hour. So we recently just come from Florida. Idea. Yeah, so I did 7 presents. It cost me no more than £20 for like all 7 presents. But he just knew then that he had one to open an hour, and then he could play with that, he could watch some stuff, eat some stuff, and then he knew he had another one coming. So these are things like fidget toys, colouring. And this is controversial, I know, but I actually pack Lego. So I pack little, in the works I picked up little trays which are basically the same measurements as your fold down tray table, and then I pack like little Lego for him, so like the £8 cars or the £9, like those kind of things. So not like, we're not talking like big Lego sets, but small ones. But because Lego is his special interest, he wouldn't drop anything anyway. Like he's so precious with it. But yeah, I appreciate for some people like that could be a nightmare. Like the Lego would go everywhere and it would just, I probably wouldn't do that for my youngest, because he'd be like launching it across the airplane. But for Jesse, like that is, he can concentrate on it. He can build it. So yeah, plane presents are a hit. Just for sort of keeping him focused, I suppose, on the next best thing that's coming.
And if you've got all their sort of favourite things downloaded onto the iPad, then you can't really go wrong. Yeah.
Always. And never ever trust plain Wi-Fi. Ever.
Yeah. No.
Always download. Don't chance anything. That's my rule. Preparation is don't chance it. I'll always have everything downloaded before you go. Make sure obviously everything's charged. You can charge stuff on planes, so make sure you check your chargers and whatnot. But again, I'm thinking long haul, but mainly you can charge on a plane. So make sure everything's charged, everything's downloaded. Don't chance it, because it's that plain Wi-Fi is never as good as they say it is.
Oh, such good tips. I think I'm still at that stage where I'm definitely on a short haul flight in my head, thinking like, let's attempt an hour flight to Portugal or hour flight to France, and then we'll see how we get on. But what should families be looking out for when booking a send-friendly holiday, both in the UK and abroad? All inclusive's a good way to go, or have you kind of got specific places in mind for different countries?
I think it really comes down to the individual family and obviously their needs, but the main things to focus on are accessibility, flexibility and understanding. So what I mean by that is, if their website, so I'm thinking about hotels specifically now, but if their website is has lots of information, or they mention anything about accessibility on there, even if it's physical accessibility, that's normally quite a bonus, because at least they're considering it. Now obviously if they mention anything like autism or sensory needs, then absolutely, like that's a tick. There's lots of initiatives out now. So there's a company called Club Autism that is predominantly based sort of Spain, Canary Islands, things like that, that goes and trains the staff in hotels. So the staff are trained, almost have qualifications in autism, communication, things like that. But yeah, I would say that clear accessibility information is my first sort of key thing. Yeah, checking for staff training on hidden disabilities is another one. Also, go into countries where the sunflower lanyard is present, so you can check all of that on their website in terms of where it's known, because that helps as well, because at least then when you are out and about or navigating through airports or in transfers, things like that, if you're able to wear something like the sunflower lanyard that obviously clearly represents there is a hidden disability, then I think it just helps. It just helps in terms of not having to constantly have to have that conversation with someone. So you can check all of that on their website in terms of what countries that operates in and is very familiar in. Things like, look for like if they advertise sort of quiet spaces or sensory rooms or things like that. Often I'm an independent travel agent, so if I book for a client, if they come to me and they, for example, have no idea where they want to go, I look for all of these things, but I also look for, if I'm contacting the hotel, I ask for like rooms away from lifts or quiet rooms, or obviously you want to make sure that they're safe as well. You don't want to be like too high up or have, clear access to balconies and things like that. So there's lots of things like that to consider as well. Flexible dining and flexible check-in times and check-out times is really helpful. So what you don't want to do is be kicked out of your room at 8 a.m. and fly home at 8 p.m.
That would be hideous.
So all of those things you really want to take into consideration. Flexible dining, I would say that all-inclusive tends to be a good way to move forward. I mean, that would be my personal preference, and the reason I say that is because they tend to do a lot of beige in all-inclusive. They do, because it's a cheaper way of doing it, and speaking from about my child, beige is his safe food, so that tends to help. And it also just relieves a lot of stress in that, do you know what, if that night he eats one thing and I've not paid €50 for it or $20 for it or whatever, then that's okay, because 100%. I feel like I've paid for it, and it, like, therefore it's like girl maths, it's free, isn't it, that dinner? Even though I've paid for the holiday, like that, the food is free, everything's free. So yeah, I just think it in terms of family dynamic and just the most stress-free option possible, I think all-inclusive. I mean, obviously very much depends on the all-inclusive, like if it's, you get what you pay for, in that if it's cheap as chips, then food might not be great and that might be a problem. But yeah, I think also what you don't want to do is dragging your kids up and down like a strip of restaurants trying to find one that might be suitable when everyone's hungry and tired and got a bit of sunstroke and all of that stuff. That's what you don't want. So if you can avoid that, either by doing research and knowing sort of what restaurants might be suitable, or going all inclusive tends to be a good option.
Really, really good advice. I think as well, like you said, even if they're able to access some of the food throughout the day, then it's worth it. I think holidays are so expensive at the moment. People are getting on average one a year. Some people are saving up for the next couple of years. So you want to go somewhere, and I think this is another issue of mine, is I want to go somewhere where we're all going to enjoy it. And the fear is that we pay all of this money, we go, and it's not going to be what I hoped it would be, and I would blame myself for that.
And I completely get that. I think this might seem like a bit of a shameless plug, but this is why I think using an independent travel agent as well is such a key thing to do, because your Brenda at BA or your Vera at Virgin is not going to understand your needs, or maybe even been to those hotels, or they're certainly not going to contact that hotel directly to find out what they can do for you and what they can't. So an independent travel agent, you don't pay any extra. They're paid through the supplier, so it's free for you to use them. And that's what they do. They have all these connections where they can contact these hotels, they can ask all these questions, they can check, you know, things like proximity to essential services and travel distances and what they can do, what they can't do, how they're trained, how they're not trained. I think when you're spending that much money and it's sort of a once a year kind of thing, or a once every 2 years, once every 3 years, it's important that you're getting value for money. And I think that's a really good reason to use one. And then they tend to have it's all about who you know, isn't it? Not what you know. So they have all the contacts, all the inside contacts in terms of suppliers and getting to that hotel direct, whereas otherwise, you know, you could be sat, you can do it yourself, of course you can, but you might be sat waiting for a reply for a long time, or sitting waiting on a contact center. And
exactly. And we're so busy, you know, many people listening might not even have the time to sit and Google places and ring hotels, or they might find ringing hotels really, really difficult. So like you say, speaking to you or an independent travel agent that has got that level of understanding and actually has a few places in the top of your head that could be a great suggestion for people, just takes that pressure off completely. Is there also a way that you can pay monthly? I think again that's another issue that many people might have.
So often with independent travel agents, so me especially, majority, depending on when you're going, so if you're going, like if you book it and you're going within 12 weeks, then no, it's you have to pay in full. If you're booking it and going, like, you know, maybe it's for next summer, for example, or later in the year, you can pay as much or as little as often as you like. So you'll pay your deposit to secure it. You can then, if you wanted to, you could pay £1 a day, you could pay £10 a week, you could pay £50 a month. Like, you can do it as much or as little as you want. There's so much more flexibility with regards to that when you're booking through an independent, because the way that our payment systems are set up, so you're far more in control of doing it however you want, as long as that final payment is completed 12 weeks before you go. Then you can do as much or as little. If you're booking, if it's like a package deal, then you do have to make sure that obviously your flights and everything are secure, which is why it's that 12 weeks before, because that's what secures your place. But you can do as much or as little as you want. So some people like to save it themselves and then just pay it on the final day that it has to be paid. Some people like to pay as, you know, once a month, just let it, like, as soon as it comes in, it goes out. It's entirely up to them, the individual, how they want to do it. But there's far more flexibility, I think, than using sort of the big tour operators.
Oh, that's really good to know, actually. So we as a family would love to go to Disney at some point, as many families listening would love to as well. And it seems a good place to take children with additional needs. I've seen a lot of adverts at the moment. Maybe it's because I'm looking at Disney cruises and just
You're being targeted.
I'm being targeted. I'm being targeted by everybody right now. It's on Facebook, it's on Instagram. It's a sign, Hayley. But you've got a lot of advice around Disney, haven't you? And you talk on your page a bit about Disney's Disability Access Service. So can you talk a bit about what that is, and also why it's such a good place to take children? Because also it seems like that could also be somewhere that's very overwhelming.
Don't get me wrong, it absolutely can be, but I think with anywhere you will always have your moments where it's a lot. So you'll have very low lows, but you will have very high highs in that. The memories that you create, the things you can see, the experiences, it's so immersive, and it's just, as you can tell, I'm a bit of a Disney nerd. Like, I could talk to you about Disney all day, so I'll try and rein it in for the purpose of this. But
I got engaged in Disney, so you can talk about Disney as much as you like. I had a Disney cake at our wedding. Love it. I
feel like we're really similar, Amy. We've got the chats that we've had.
We're soul sisters.
We finally met. But yeah, Disney, there's so much in terms of, it's always, pardon the pun, but it is going to be a roller coaster of a journey in terms of your holiday, because there's going to be really high, like really highs, really low lows. But Disney is one of the most, I would say, supportive and inclusive places that I've traveled to with my family.
Is that Paris and Florida?
Yeah. Now, I would say Paris is far easier in terms of, well, obviously from the UK, just getting there and doing the holiday is far easier. We drove. It was so easy. And being able to take what you want, be in your own space, your own comfort. You haven't got the stress of other passengers and hoping you don't annoy them or like things like that. You can control smells, temperature, volume, like everything. So I loved that in terms of traveling in our own car. And the disability access service at Paris is far more relaxed than it is at Walt Disney World. And what I mean by that is that you could, if you have, for example, the Nimbus scheme, if you've got that, then that's fine for Paris. They'll accept that.
And that's an access card, isn't it, that gets you queue jumps for like Legoland and all towers, etc.
Yeah, so Nimbus is recognised across most UK attractions, and across Europe as well. So they are like an independent company who basically, it's run like by people with disabilities, and they will almost check what support you need, and then they'll give you a card to reflect that. Yeah, depending on obviously what you submit in terms of paperwork and stuff like that, the card has like icons to tell, other people what support you need at different attractions and things. So it's a really brilliant scheme. But Disneyland Paris accept that. They'll pretty much accept, if you've got any sort of professional that has written a letter to say that, you require it, they'll accept that. And that's great. Walt Disney World in Florida is a lot stricter. So they, about this time last year, changed the rules. However, what I would say is that I feel like the rules have changed more in the favour of families of neurodiverse children. So there's a lot of people that now wouldn't qualify for it that did previously. Yeah, I would say it's more in the favour, but there is a brilliant website called the DAS Defenders, and it's a website but also a Facebook page. They have incredible information on there that's always kept up to date in terms of supporting you through that process. But I suppose high level, you have to apply using a VPN 60 days before you travel, so you have to be on the American site for it to be processed. I've got lots of stuff on my Instagram page on sort of guides to help with that. Yeah. And it will be in that travel and autism guide as well. But yeah, you don't have to explain diagnosis. You have to explain what the impact would be queuing. So in terms of the process, I would say it's harder, it's a little bit more stressful, but once you've got that DAS system, it basically works as a virtual queue system. So you still wait the time, but you basically apply, for example, let's say you and I wanted to go on the Buzz Lightyear ride. We would look at on the app. We'd look on the My Disney Experience app, and it would be like, right, that's an hour queue. So we would book ourselves in for an hour time, and then we would virtually wait that somewhere else. So we could wait that anywhere we felt comfortable. So we could go get some food, we could go to the shops, we could watch the parade, we could, whatever's happening. So we're still waiting that time. We're not queue jumping. We're just doing it in an environment that is easier for us to manage.
That's brilliant.
Which is an absolute game changer. Yeah. Really, in terms of, I know that as a family, without it, we wouldn't have been able to do that holiday.
Yeah. And so many people listening have been in the same boat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really great system. Yet you can use it in conjunction with Lightning Lane, which is like the fast track system, which means that you could virtually queue for a ride and then use it. But the reality is that people that are, like my family that are going that need it aren't going there to get on as many rides as possible. We're going there to enjoy what we can and do it at a pace that suits us. So my husband is going to cringe when I say this. Our little motto, I say ours, my motto was vibes, not rides, and he was like, oh, never say that again. But it's you're not gonna, if your expectation is that you're going to go to Disney and go on every ride
everything.
5 times.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen with the DAS system. That's not what it's designed for. But you are going to go and have the support in place to make the most of your visit and get the most from it. And my son liked what he liked and he didn't like what he didn't like. So yes, we did Buzz Lightyear 7 times, but we didn't touch half of the other park because he liked what he liked. So yeah, their DAS system is brilliant. Their training on disabilities is brilliant. Everything there is mobile now, so you can mobile order food. You haven't got to be confined to these busy restaurants and queuing in restaurants and things like that. You can mobile order it and take it out to a place that's a bit quieter and things like that. So there's so much in place. They've got good attention to detail. They've got quiet rooms. They've got sensory friendly shows. They've got understanding and trained cast members. They have disability areas mapped out. They have entire disability maps. So they'll have a Magic Kingdom map and then they'll have a disabled version that shows you everything that you would need to know and access as somebody with a disability. So yeah, their toilets are far more gigged up to support, you know, maybe adults that need a bit more space and things like that. I truly just think it's just a really incredible place for anyone with a disability to feel included.
Yeah.
And yeah, enjoy the magic without constantly being on edge. Obviously, you know, it's busy. It's the busiest, especially Florida, it's the busiest theme park in the world, Magic Kingdom. But yeah, I think with the right preparation then and all the support that it has in place, it's a fantastic place to go to.
Oh, you've really sold it. I keep my two love Moana. I mention it on the podcast, and there's a little I've seen Moana Land, and you think, oh, their little faces if they saw that, it'd be so good.
that is brilliant because it's all water play and it's all like Jessie could have spent hours in there because like you lift your hand and the water lifts with it, or like and he loves water play. Like it's so calming for him. So we did go through about 4 changes of clothes in a day because he would just like run in there and then just like all the other kids were like putting a finger in and he was like in it.
Oh, that's so good.
But yeah, it was just such, I mean, obviously it's good for cooling off.
Yes.
But it's also just in terms of sensory and being immersed, but also learning. There's so much, like it's a journey of water, so there's so much that he learned on this trip. And we've just got back and I honestly think I saw the real Jessie when we were there. Like his confidence and just like he was just so happy and so immersed in everything. Like I think the mask come off and he was just, I think I saw the real him. And I did a lot to support him, a lot of like POV videos, so he knew what to nothing was a surprise. We did so much planning, so much planning. But yeah, I think he had the absolute best time. The problem is he wants to go every weekend. That's not possible for a long time. So
and again, I guess with that kind of holiday, people could book for 2-3 years time if they wanted to. If they think, oh, maybe my 2 need to be a little bit older, you've got the option to do that as well, and it could be something that you look forward to in a couple of years.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm actually doing quotes now for 2027. When you're booking 2-3 years in advance, you can absolutely secure it, but it might be that you have to pay for your ticket element a bit later on, or you pay full, because they won't release the dates of, you know, the prices of those until the year of or a year beforehand. So but yeah, you absolutely can get planning and secure it. I would say that this is actually more important than ever. If you are not a Disney person but you love Disney, especially Walt Disney World, it is a minefield. They don't make it easy. Like you have to use the app for everything. Like for everything. Getting into your hotel room, you're using an app. Like if just like getting into park and setting up like your disability access service and how to use it and how to navigate it and how to book rides, how to order food. You're doing it on an app, which is great if you're really savvy with it, or if you know how to navigate the parks best, how to beat the crowds, how to, you know, if the crowds are going one way, to go the other way, what to go on first. And Also from a sensory rating when it comes to rides and things like that, using a Disney specialist travel agent could save you a lot of time and energy and make sure that you get the absolute most from it, because us Disney travel agents, we are Disney nerds and we know we know it through and through. So yeah, I just think it's incredible. But if you've never been, it would be worth your weight in gold, because you're not paying any extra. You're paying the same prices, but you're getting all of that added value,
all that expertise,
and support.
Yeah, exactly. And where else do you recommend for those that aren't Disney fans? What are your top 3 places that you've been to or that you've researched you feel would be best to go as a Sen family? As I think that's half the problem, isn't it? Where do I start?
So obviously Disney is my top one. You probably guessed that from my last answer. I would say also things like Centre Parks, Butlins are very geared up for supporting neurodiverse families. Yeah, Centre Parks is great. Things like Euro camps as well. They're quite reasonable, quite good. I know that like I mentioned, Club Autism, they are working with a lot of hotels and stuff at the moment, and I know that TUI are doing a range of sort of neurodiverse. They got a slogan, and I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, it's basically for neurodiverse families. They're doing a range of holidays at the moment as well. So the idea of that is that the staff are trained.
Great.
So at least you can feel safe in knowing that you're going there and you're going to get the support, I suppose, from the staff. But I think I appreciate that's quite a broad answer, but I think it very much comes down to the individual needs of the family to be able to find a specific place. But obviously Disney is my number one, and then UK, Centre Parks, Butlins. Abroad, I would personally go on that Club Autism sort of website and then see who they've worked with, what
as a
hotel
starting
specifically point. Other staff trained, and then you can almost work backwards from there to find the one that you want to go to.
That sounds great advice. So tell us a bit about your Instagram page. So you've said you're an independent travel agent. Why did you set it up, and how can people sort of best get in contact with you?
So it's been going for about a year, maybe just over May last year I think we started. So it was basically just set up purely to start with because we had started a YouTube channel, because we're that family that we don't really watch TV, we just watch vlogs. We're those types of people. We had a holiday planned, we were going to Greece, and we were like, should we give it a go? Should we just try? Should we just try and sort of... And it was purely based, not to be vloggers, not to be YouTube stars. I'm not saying we're any good, but we like to capture our children's childhoods. We feel like we've blinked and our kids are suddenly 5 and 3, and I don't understand how time has happened. I'm so confused. So we were like, right, we need to really start just capturing their childhoods, because my dad, when we were younger, had a camera always. We've got like stacks of like VHSs of
my dad's the same.
I've got nowhere to play them now, but I've got all these videos.
Did you do the commentating I used to get? We're on Newquay Beach. It's a really sunny day. So cute.
All you would hear is just the wind from being on the beach.
He's trying to do a David Attenborough commentary over the top.
So we were like, oh, we want to do that for our children. Like we want to do the same. We want to capture everything. So we set that up as a sort of way to support our YouTube channel. And then I would say probably 3 or 4 months into doing that was then when I decided to then become an independent travel agent, which for me was a bit of a no-brainer. Like I was purposefully trying to travel more and do more with my kids, and it was like, okay, this goes hand in hand. I then started following more sort of Sen parents and things like that, because I had things in common with them and I'd love seeing their content. And it became very apparent to me very quickly that there is a gap in... I was getting to know a lot more families like mine, and they would sort of see me traveling because that was the content that I was posting, and they wanted to know how I was traveling, and they were unsure where to start, and they were scared of taking the leap, and it just kind of come from there. So it was really, I didn't set out to do it like that, it just kind of happened like that. My Instagram page, it's just chaos. It's sort of real talk tips funny reels, bit of behind the scenes on our holidays. It's definitely a place for mums to sort of come to and go, oh, okay, it's not just me. Oh, okay, her kids are feral too. Oh, okay. We're all exhausted. Great. Yeah, that's kind of what it's turned into now. On there, I've got a website. As I say, I'm launching that travel and autism book. So I've basically picked up on the feedback, done a lot of research, and realised that actually there's a gap in that everything that exists, people knowing about it. That it just feels like it's not reaching. Yeah, it's not being communicated very well. It's not being advertised very well. So yeah, I've kind of saw this as an opportunity to help. The inbox is always open. I do have a website, all my email address and everything else is on there. So a lot of people will just reach out to me via DM, and we'll start talking holidays, and we'll go from there.
I was going to say, so if anybody listening is thinking, I'm coming straight to Hayley after this to book a holiday, is that the best way to do it? Is DM you on Instagram, or what is your website if they were to have a look?
So website is furtherafieldtravel.co.uk. So yeah, you can contact me on there. The best
Brilliant.
way.
Hayley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Honestly, I feel like a weight's been lifted talking to you about holidays, because it was something that I really wanted to do. I really wanted to take the family away, but I didn't know where to start or how Alex would do traveling, but you've really helped that. So I will definitely be coming to you to book a holiday. So thank you so much for coming on, because I know you'd be helpful to so many people listening as well.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast. I'm so excited.
It's been great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.